Assalamu alaikum, grade 8. We're carrying on with quadrilaterals. So yesterday you had a worksheet to do on quadrilaterals to try to understand all the different types of the quadrilaterals that we have. That YouTube video is quite nice to use, and if you watch it again, then it will remind you about the different types of quadrilaterals we have today, right? Okay, so we have the word quadrilaterals, and you saw in the video they told you that what quad means is that the side has that each figure has 4 sides. Okay, then we have different types of quadrilaterals. The trapezium, where you're only having one pair of parallel lines. So this one here only has one pair of parallel lines. Then you've got a kite, okay, which has no parallel lines, but we all know the shape of a kite. Then we have a parallelogram, which means that this side is parallel to that side, and this side is parallel to this side. That's how we call it a parallelogram. And as a short, we say palm, right? So when we're writing our reasons, we can just write down palm. We don't have to write parallelogram. Please note, when you see one arrow, it means that this side is parallel to that side, and 2 arrows means that that side is parallel to that side. We're always matching signs to see in geometry what is equal. Then we had a rhombus again, okay? So then again, there's 4 sides here, right? So then it's 2 sides are parallel there. A rhombus, so if you look at the square, we all know what a square is. All the sides are equal, right? And a rectangle has opposite sides that are equal. A rhombus is just a crooked square. So what we're doing is we're either turning it that way or that way. So it's very similar to a square. It's very similar to a square. Only thing is you're changing the 90-degree angles a bit, but all the rest is the same. So I did ask you guys to go through the summary of this table, and it's very important for you to learn these things here, right? You don't need to learn it word for word. If you understand it and if you're applying it to the problems, you won't even need to learn it. You will have to just remember for each quadrilateral, what are the properties of that quadrilateral, okay? So we have a trapezium, right? Only one pair of opposite sides are parallel. That's very important in a trapezium. You can see this is a trapezium. If that side would have become parallel to that side, we would have ended up with a rectangle or a square, right? So what is happening here is that there's only one side, 2 sides that are parallel, and it's obvious from the diagram. It's not something that you need to study the entire sentence, right? An isosceles trapezium means, you remember an isosceles triangle? So we have a triangle, and then we say 2 sides are equal in a triangle. We call them an isosceles triangle. If it's 3 sides, then we call it an equilateral triangle. So now this is an isosceles trapezium. And what is it telling you? If the question says you have an isosceles trapezium, it means that you have 2 sides that are equal. Okay, and now remember, we're matching signs again. So this side is equals to that side. So that's simple. You need to know how to identify a trapezium, and you need to know that the 2 sides are parallel. Then we go on to a kite. Okay, right? So a kite, you can see a kite. Okay, let's do the easier ones first, then we'll come back to the kite. Let's start off from the bottom. The square is actually the easier one. Okay, so I'm going to do the square first. So now when you look at the square, an easy way to remember is that everything in a square is equal. Okay, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel, right? So what it's saying is this side is parallel to that side, and that side is parallel to that side. Okay, so you can see all the opposite sides are parallel. All 4 sides are equal. All 4 sides are equal. So look there, they've used only one line. So we're matching it. We can match it there, we can match it there, and we can match it there. All 4 sides of a square are equal. That's things that you already know. What you need to know only is that's a parallel line to this parallel line. So we remember when we did constructions, if you measure the distance between these 2 lines here, it's going to be equal all over. That's how it becomes that line is parallel to that line. Same thing here. On these ones here, if you're measuring the distance, it's equal distance, so that's how they become parallel, right? All 4 angles are equals to 90 degrees. Very important, right? They all are equals to 90 degrees. So what we're learning here are properties of a square. So we know it's a quadrilateral, it has 4 sides, but there's certain things that that if you say the word square, you have to know that it has this. So when you see a question and it has a problem to solve a side, or it has a problem to give you an angle, you have to know these things and then apply it to the square, right? So all four angles are equals to 90 degrees, right? Diagonals bisect each other at 90 degrees. Now we did bisecting when we were doing the angles, right? What do you do? What do you mean when you bisect angles? It means you are cutting them in half. Now here's the diagonal. You're drawing a line from that point to that point, right? And then you're drawing a line from that point to that point. That is the diagonals of the square. They are bisecting at 90 degrees, okay? So what it means is that it's bisecting, diagonals bisect the angles at each vertex. Sorry, I'm doing the next one, right? Diagonals bisect the angles at each vertex. Remember in the video he showed you what is the vertex? The points of the square are the vertex. So you can see the diagonals are cutting there. This is a rule that is 90 degrees, 90 degrees, 90 degrees. Now it's telling you that the diagonal is bisecting there. So what does it mean? Why do they have two dots there? Each one is 45 degrees. 45 plus 45 gives you 90. 45 plus 45 gives you 90. 45 plus 45 gives you 90. So on. So you know the value of that, the value of that. If they give you the value of one side, then you know the value of all the sides. Okay. If they give you a value of half of this here, you know that this half has to be equals to that half. This half has to be equal to that half. Everything is equal. Can you see the equal signs there? We're matching now. This is equal to that, that is equals to that, right? That means diagonals are bisecting each other. Now it says the diagonals bisect each other at 90 degrees. So they didn't put a sign there, but this is 90 degrees, that is 90 degrees, that is 90 degrees, and this is 90 degrees. So these diagonals are bisecting at 90 degrees. All rules of a square, okay? Then we go on to a rhombus. So the only way you're going to be able to be good at answering questions on quadrilaterals, what you can do in the beginning is when you have a question on a square, turn back here, read it, and then answer the questions, and later on you will learn this and it will come to you and you'll remember it, because obviously in the test you're not going to be given this. You have to know the properties and answer the questions, right? So now we have a rhombus. A rhombus, can you see the square? What have we done to the square? We've just turned it about this way. It can be turned that way, but what has happened is the 90-degree angles have gone away, but there's a lot of similarity, right? Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Can you see A and A are matching? This side is parallel to that side. And this side is parallel to that side. Can you see the one arrow there and the two arrows? So you've got opposite sides are parallel. All four sides are equal. And you see we're already matching. So if you have, say for instance, this is 3. So what does it mean? Can you see the one line there? 3, 3, 3. All the sides are equal. It's very similar to a square. Both pairs of opposite angles are equal. So this is where the difference comes in. We don't have 90 degrees, but it's saying both pairs of opposite angles are equal. So this angle is opposite to that angle. So it's equal. Can you see there's two lines there? And the two lines, that is telling you that this angle is equals to that angle. And then the other opposite angle, this angle, is equal to that angle. Now remember, they all are not equal to each other. That's why there's two lines there and one line there. Opposite angles are equal, right? Then it says diagonals bisect each other at 90 degrees. Same thing like that. They bisect each other at 90 degrees. So this is 90, that's 90, that's 90, that's 90. When you're drawing diagonals in a rhombus, they're cutting there at 90 degrees. And diagonals bisect the angles at each vertex. Same thing, which means they're cutting this angle into half here at the vertex. This diagonal here, can you see this diagonal here? It's cutting this angle in half. So this diagonal here is cutting this one into half. So if you know the value of the full one, you can divide it by 2 and get the answer. Then, or if you have the value of this one, you can calculate this angle because they are opposite and they are equal. But remember, it's not 90 degrees, right? So they'll give you a value. So then that's a rhombus. and we have those properties of a rhombus. Same thing, if you got a question on the rhombus, you need to know the properties and then apply the properties. Okay, so these diagonals are also bisecting each other, which means, can you see that they also are equal? There's a two lines matching there, so this one is equals to that one. And then now all are not equal like the square. Can you see there's a bit of a difference here? This line is equals to that line. Okay, because now we've turned it a bit, so it becomes a bit longer, this one, but this half is equals to that half, right? And that half is equals to that half. So that's the difference. In a square, this, all of them are the same. So if this one is 2, this one will be 2, that half will be 2, that half will be 2. If this one measures 3, only this will be 3, and then this will probably be 2 and matching 2, right? Okay, a rectangle is very easy. It's similar to a square. Okay, both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Same thing. Parallel lines and parallel lines. They have to be parallel, right? Both pairs of opposite sides are equal. Okay, opposite sides are equal. So not all four sides are equal. You know, in a rectangle, if this is 5, that will be 5. And if this is 2, that will be 2. So there's your matching two lines to show you that those are two lines are equal. So it is very important for you to know how to read geometry signs. The lines are showing you that they are equal, and the parallel lines are shown by arrows. Okay, all four angles are equal to 90 degrees, same as the square. All we've done to this shape from here is just taken it and widened it a bit. So it's all the same properties, right? Diagonals are equal in length. So can you see here, this, if they're bisecting each other, right? So what happens here, we're drawing a diagonal from one point to the other point and from this point to that point. This part is equals to that part, and that part is equals to that part. Okay, diagonals bisect each other. Okay, so they're bisecting each other, which means they're cutting each other in half, right? So this means this part is equals to that part and that part is equals to that part. But remember now that in a square they're bisecting at each other, but they all are equal. Here now in a rectangle you have this one equals to that one and that one equals to that one, right? So now we have what's the difference here is we don't have 90 degrees in the middle. So can you see this one here where they bisect each other at 90 degrees? That doesn't apply in a square. You can see it's been widened out. The angles are bigger there, and then these angles are smaller there, right? So a rectangle, that's the properties of a rectangle. Same thing again, if you get questions on a rectangle, you have to read through it, you have to know the properties, and then you have to apply yourself to that question. Okay, so then let's